Hey the people, how you doing? So, today we have the camera review for the S21 Ultra. Now, I would say, like in a nutshell, the S21 Ultra has a very complex situation with regards to its cameras. But, even so, overall, I would still quite easily say that the S21 Ultra's cameras have been very impressive to me. Like, they have unquestionably surpassed most of my initial expectations that I had, on the day of launch, basically. But before we get into all of the nitty-gritties and deep dive into the weeds of what this camera is and isn't capable of, well, I do want to mention a few features that I came across which I did not include in all of my camera comparisons that I've done. You can check all of them out, they're out on the channel. But basically, these features, when they can find a useful situation, can come in handy in ways that we may not have even imagined possible. So first and foremost, in the camera app, you'll see that if you go to the More section, we have a Pro Video mode. Now this isn't the normal Pro mode where you can just capture raw photographs and call it a day. Rather, this one is for video, and it's very, very good because, as I can see right now, you can have both the main and ultra wide cameras for video with all your pro and manual settings. Being able to dial in every single setting like ISO, shutter speed, white balance, and so on and so forth, it's amazing to use. Now, another feature that we have that is relatively new to Galaxy devices as such is that we have unlocked resolution, in a manner of saying, and frame rate as well, because now we can not only shoot in 4K 30, which was the default in earlier versions of Pro Video mode, but we can also have 4K at 24 FPS. Now, we do not have this feature in normal video, if you were to just point and shoot video, that's not really possible in 4K 24. You have to use Pro Video mode, which feels kind of odd to me, but nonetheless, at least we have 4K 24. We didn't have this in any previous Galaxy devices, as far as I remember. But that is not all. We can go higher. We can go to 4K 60, and if you really want to go all the way, you can go to 8K 24 FPS as well. And next up, we have Director's View mode. Now, what this basically does is that it'll allow you to see the video feed from the other lenses while you're shooting video. Let's say from the main lens, you can see how it'll look from the ultrawide camera or the zoom cameras, and I personally feel like this can be quite a lifesaver when it comes to shooting video. Let's say in this perfect situation, you want this perfect shot, and then the shot approaches, you've been doing everything perfectly. Well, basically, if you're not using Director's View mode and you see that particular moment just pop up and you want to zoom in, you press the zoom button, sure, it'll zoom in, and then you notice that your shot just isn't framed properly. Yeah, that sucks, let me tell you right now. It's just, well, that's when Director's View mode is a lifesaver. Almost quite literally, yeah. Now finally, before we move on to the camera review part of this video, well, I do want to give a shout out to the single take mode. It's been there and it's been an impressive feature, but now it's like we have the features that we never really knew we might have wanted, because now we can select which type of videos and photographs you want single take mode to take. Single take mode was amazing for me, and it's been quite useful in numerous situations, but being able to customize the types of shots that single take mode is going to focus on, well, then you can just weed out all of the extra stuff that you may never need. So I would say that it's a welcome upgrade. Now, another thing that single take mode can do on top of all this is you can now choose how long single take mode will take its clip for the photos and videos. You can have it at 10 seconds, or you can go all the way down to 5 seconds, and if that doesn't suit you, go up to 15 seconds. So yeah, lot of versatility and flexibility here. That's the staple of Samsung cameras as a whole, and it's just been improved all the more. So now, moving on to the camera review. Well, we'll start off with photography. Basically, this is probably one of the best photography smartphones out there, because with all of the new upgrades that we have had, I'm talking about both hardware and software here. So firstly, we have a slightly newer sensor. It's quite possibly there, with some minor upgrades like improved dynamic range and so on and so forth. Nothing major as such. But then we have a new telephoto camera. It is 3 times zoom right here. Then we have the 10 times zoom. Now, this is a massive step up compared to what we had last year. And then also, to back it all up, we have an ultra-wide camera. It's the best ultra-wide in any smartphone. I can say that without a shadow of doubt, because the ultra-wide camera on the S21 Ultra, just like its predecessors, it produces some of the sharpest and most beautiful photographs that I've seen, whether it's nighttime or daytime. Any situation, the ultra-wide camera on this one has been more than phenomenal, to the point that I don't think there are many phones out there that can even compete with this one. As for focusing, well, we did have an issue on the S20 Ultra, which was fixed on the Note 20 Ultra here with laser autofocus. And on the S21, we have a similar laser autofocus sensor, so yeah, no problems in that regard as a whole. But portraits in particular, well, I would say there is a problem there. It's more like a missing feature. The problem here is that when you're using portrait mode, you can have the normal 1x zoom and you can get phenomenal portraits out of it. I think portrait mode has improved to the point that it is very similar to the best cameras out there for portraits, like, again, the iPhones. And the problem here is that when you want to zoom in, we do have a 3 times optical zoom camera here, but it doesn't use that. Now, I'm not entirely certain as to why it has not been fixed, so I don't suppose it's gonna get fixed anytime in the future. Yeah, looks like we won't be getting any optical zoom on the portrait mode, which is very odd because this time we have the hardware, so why not use it? Now then we have night mode. Just to touch up on it, it has been plenty impressive to me. We can use night mode on every single camera here. It's present on the ultra wide, the main camera, 3 times zoom, 10 times zoom even. Obviously on 10 times zoom, the stability is questionable to say the least, but you know what? Even with 10 times zoom at night, you can still get slightly usable results. But I've also heard that some people find the night mode to have too much noise reduction, which can result in some detail loss. Now, I personally feel like that's a non-issue. The details are plenty present, and compared to all of the other devices, all of the other competitors that right now, we have the best from OnePlus, the iPhone 12 series, I would say that it's fantastic. Now, yeah, you could say that if the noise reduction was lower in night mode, then maybe you could have had better detail, probably a little bit more sharpness maybe, but I personally would still pick a noise-free and clean image at night compared to just a minuscule amount of extra detail. Like, it's not that important to me, at least, because I feel like at night, the cleaner the image, the better it looks, unless the details are completely gone. And finally, for selfies, well, I usually don't talk much about the selfies, especially for Galaxy devices, because they haven't ever been quite as phenomenal on this one as anything before. Like the Note, the S20, nothing even compares to just how good the S21 Ultra's selfie camera performance is. And the reason behind that is very simple. It's simply because the S21 Ultra, when you turn off beauty mode, it turns it off. Like, quite literally, it turns it off. These detail levels, well, I've never seen that on any Galaxy device so far, and obviously the selfie camera has a night mode. And it's pretty good. It's basically one of the best night modes on selfie cameras that I've seen. It's quite easily better than selfie night mode on the iPhones, and it's obviously better than what you've had before as well. I feel like there's a little bit more detail and it just looks a little bit better in my opinion. The color processing overall is also better, and I'm talking about all of the cameras here. The overall color processing, I feel it leans quite a bit towards the natural side, while also maintaining some amount of vibrancy and giving us good contrast, not making images look too desaturated or flat. I would say it maintains a very good balance. So, it would seem like photography overall is quite dainty for the S21 Ultra. Now, obviously, there are certain problems here and there, like the portrait mode problem, and as a matter of fact, the portrait mode does have night mode built into it, so it's very similar to what we have on the latest iPhone 12 Pro and Pro Max. It's not present in the iPhone 12, by the way. So yeah, it's nice to have a feature like that. I don't really use it much, but when you really want to take that one selfie portrait or normal portrait photo, in low light, you can do that with this one and it works very well. But now, we shall move on to video, and this is where, as I said in the very beginning of the video, things are gonna get complex. The situation isn't as nice for the S21 Ultra as it was for photography as a whole. Now, in broad daylight, as anyone in this world, even a baby could guess this, the S21 Ultra performs very, very well. It's right up there with like the best out there with video. Maybe at times falling short of the iPhone at best. But other than that, I would say that the S21 Ultra in good lighting conditions, it's almost the best out there. But the moment you remove the light or you make the subject stand in a backlight situation, well, that's when the S21 Ultra falls apart, and it's because of a very daunting but very specific issue in the S21 Ultra's cameras. Now, this issue that I'm talking about is not present on the Note 20 Ultra. Like, it's very specific to this camera setup. The S21 Ultra does something crazy which leads to a lot of smearing. Like, all of the details get completely smeared, the colors look weird, the subject as a whole also tends to look very odd, to say the least. It just doesn't look nice. It looks very weird and it looks like there's a ton of artifacting going on. It's not been fixed yet either, so I don't know. So, overall, video. I would say that if you're like a normal person and you don't take a ton of low light or backlit videos, you probably wouldn't even notice the problem that I'm talking about. But if you do want to take videos in different kind of lighting situations, yeah, it's not gonna be very impressive. You're gonna find out that the S21 Ultra's video capabilities are not as good as they would appear. Because, you know, again, when everything is stationary, this one produces probably the most detailed and clean overall video. But in motion, it's almost unusable at that point. The video capabilities overall, I would say it's just barely above average. It would be right up there with the best if we could get rid of the smearing problem. Because other than that, and with that particular problem gone, I would say it's probably one of the best out there for video. But motion just tears all of that down. So, with that said, how do I feel about the overall cameras? Well, the videography is not impressive. It did not impress me. I felt like the problem was too much and it just made videos in numerous situations too bad. But photography, on the other hand, was amazing. I had expected a lot more issues with, you know, color processing not being as nice and all that. If you were to use this normally, well, you'll never find any issues. Night mode or normal photos, it's amazing. So the S21 Ultra's cameras as a whole, they stack up almost perfectly well for the photography side of things, but video, I believe it depends entirely on your use case, whether or not you believe that you're gonna use this phone for backlit and low light or any kind of harsh lighting situation. If that is gonna be the case, I would suggest either waiting, hoping that there's gonna be an update that fixes this video problem, or go for something else. If you're really gonna use it excessively in those situations, then there are other phones out there that can do a slightly better job and not give you any of the smearing that I'm just talking about here. But other than that, I would say the S21 Ultra's cameras are amazing as a whole. Other than the slight problem in video, it's been amazing for me to use. Basically, it's been very impressive, and I would quite easily categorize this as just the kind of cameras that the S20 Ultra from last year was supposed to be, with the consistency, the usage of all of this versatility in the proper manner. This was the way to go for last year, but you know, we're just a little bit late. Anyways, with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, do hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will be seeing you guys later. Cheers.